get the stage.
Hi everyone, welcome to day 5 of the 5-day self-love challenge. It's the final day. So thank you so much for joining us and thank you so much for participating. We've had an absolute ball and I hope you have as well. So if you have any questions or if there's anything that you'd like our support with, please pop it down in the comments below.
Oh, I'm sad because we're going, but we're not. So 5 steps of many. So today is around self-motivation. And why have we chosen this one as the last one? Because we want you to go on and be successful. Self-motivation is about your internal drive. It's about what makes you keep going, either by yourself or with others. So in terms of what that self-motivation is, it's about what is it you use to self-motivate? So whilst we've been in here this week helping you and giving you questions, we want to know how you're going to do this post these 5 days. We want you to commit to this this whole self-care concept to yourself, for yourself. It's your gift to you. It's a way of celebrating you. So and it's so important that you do it. It's not just a 1 week thing. And I do recall somebody in here saying, I think it was Astra, your friend Astra, who says she's been doing self-care for 5 years. And thumbs up to you, Astra, for even joining something like this, because you're living proof that actually it's a continuous journey. And yeah, so I'm going to hand over to Alexis, who will show you how self-care's not done, self-motivation's not done, and how she does it now.
Yes, absolutely. So self-motivation is all about that internal drive that you have within yourself to be able to achieve something that you've always wanted to do, right? And it's so important. And basically, as we were just chatting about before, there's 2 ways that you can motivate yourself. So there's moving towards something.
And then moving away from.
And moving away from something. So basically, pain or pleasure. So what I came to realize is that I'm actually motivated by pain, and most people are. So I'm more motivated by if something were bad to happen to me rather than something good to happen to me, right? So there was a point in my life where I was like lowest of all lows. I was suffering from severe anxiety and depression, and like it was like a divine shitstorm, right? So work was going awfully, and my relationship was completely falling apart, and I was just like, I was in a very depressive state. And I remember I was sitting there with the doctor, and the doctor said to me, well, what we can do from here onwards is see a psychologist and maybe see a psychiatrist and go on antidepressants. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, hell no, I am not going on antidepressants. I'm not saying that going on antidepressants is a bad thing, but I don't like to take medication, right? Like I'm about holistic living. I love my plant-based lifestyle. So I thought, how can I defeat this? Because I've come from a space where I was severely ill with all sorts of things, from like chronic asthma, bronchitis, having periods that went on for months, and like having chronic fatigue, insomnia, IBS, like...
Basically, you sound like you were a mess.
Yeah, I was a mess. I was a red hot mess, right? It was so bad. I had joint pain, I couldn't sleep, it was awful. To curing myself of all of that. So I thought, you know what, if I can get through that, I can get through this. So I made a decision that day that I wasn't going to go down that path. And what motivated me was her and, you know, my old job, the corporate job, people saying, you know, you need to get help, you need to go on antidepressants and so on. I was like, no. So I made that choice that I was going to beat this with what I do best, right? And that's eating really, really well and exercising, like doing things I love, like going to yoga, doing different types of classes, spending time outdoors. That's what I wanted to do, and I did. I kicked it, and like life's been pretty amazing since, right? Like at the moment we're in London, we're going to New York soon, and I love traveling, right? And I love spending time with people that I love, and I love animals. So I focused on all those things that I really, really love doing, and use that to drive me out of that dark night of the soul, rather than because I didn't want to end up in that space where I was medicated. So that's me, that's my story. I hope it kind of relates to you in some way, and if you are going through something like that, please know that you're not alone. And if you need any help, then please reach out. We're here to support you.
Okay. mine's a very different story in so much as, okay, so I very rarely get ill. So I would say that in terms of motivation, I'm going to talk about, well, Lexi's just talked about being ill, but I'll talk about motivation from a different place. So I say I very rarely get ill. I've been 8 months with chronic back pain, and I was determined to biohack the hell out of that. So you see I'm sitting here wriggling. I'm actually in a really good space with my back pain. What back pain, sorry. So let's talk about motivation from a very different place. Motivation from the perspective of work. So how do I motivate myself? I work at home. I'm alone. I'm driven actually by my family. I'm driven by my daughter. I'm driven by wanting to provide, not just provide a nice home for her, but I love when she comes to me and vice versa. I love that exchange of information. I love when she says, "Mum, what are you doing?" That's an inner drive for me, and it always has been. It's one that I really thrive off. When she maybe shares with her friends, "Oh, Mum's a coach," and so that's an internal motivation for me. It might sound like a weak one, but for those of you that maybe don't